Cool. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining this kickoff meeting for the Billing Foundation team in fulfillment. Got a few points there, but we can also use this meeting to address any questions or concerns or anything from the team. So let's see. So yeah, my first point is that why we created this Billing Foundation. I think essentially this will help customers' reliability, data integrity, and basically increase the velocity and performance for everyone in fulfillment. My second point is there are three distinct lines of engineering work and topics. I may be wrong here. Maybe there are not three. Maybe there are two or four. I don't know. But from what I can tell until now, I think there might be three things that might be different enough between them that could be of interest for individual contributors, basically. So from what I can see, there's tooling, which could be, the danger bot that we use in customers dot, Sentry configuration within customers dot, logging from the customers dot perspective, and then some parts of change management as well. There's the infrastructure stuff where we have an Ansible project for provisioning and configuration, as well as Prometheus dashboard and metrics. These metrics are most of them are going to be logged from customers dot as well with the Ruby gem. There's also logging, reliability, HA configuration eventually, and so on. And then the third part, which I call billing, is the GitLab integration side of things, including maybe single sign-on for GitLab, Zora architecture in customers dot, other general architecture there, APIs, and so on. Tatiana, you have the first point there.
Yeah, I just wanted to call and make sure we are aligning on this as well, that this team will solely be responsible for integrating with Zora, and therefore removing that complexity from other teams, and figuring out a way to provide them or other teams with usable APIs to work with subscription or modifying things in Zora. Is it are we on the same page about that as well? Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the second point, I would just also I think would be nice to add another point of not only do we help with Zora architecture within a customer dot, but also help inform the overall order to cash architecture, because ours is a big part of the overall architecture.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think one point there is that for the order to cash architecture, and for Zora anyway, we probably be including or getting some help from other teams like Kentaps, of course.
Yep, for sure.
And Vitaly, you have the next point.
Yeah, just a small question. How is this team connected to the enterprise applications team?
Yeah,
because I know that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'll just add real quick that you finish your question. Sorry.
Yeah, just some one small clarification. As far as I know, the enterprise applications team works on Zora related stuff too.
Yeah, so I think we will be collaborating with that team in order to create the right integrations, the right architecture. So think of them as our stable counterparts when it comes to working with Zora.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any other questions here? So my my next point is just to get a sense of what the team preferences are in terms of what they would like to work on. And mind, this can change. Anytime you can say, hey, I would actually, at some point want to try some infrastructure work and so on. Obviously, this may depend on priorities and many other things, but it's nice to get a hint for this, whether we, want to have like some team specialized or some team members are specialized on something, or a combination. This can be updated asynchronous, so don't feel like you have to answer now. That's just for me to get a sense of how we want to work, basically. And
kind of related to that, once we have like the preferences laid out and we kind of have a sense of where people want to work, I assume like we'll have a board for building foundations, or did we decide we were going to split boards and have like an infrastructure board versus a building board? Do we know yet how we're going to separate that work?
So that's actually my next question.
Oh, right. I should have read ahead. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, but it's a good question. Right now, I guess we have no choice but to have at least 2 different boards, because the infrastructure project is under GitLab.com and not GitLab.org, the root group, basically. So we won't be able to share the board because of that. But there's an issue right now for the Ansible project for actually moving it to GitLab.org. So that will make things much easier, especially because the labels can be shared either because of the root group there being different. So I think that would be, hopefully we can get there. I had to ask a few people there, including compliance, just to see if there are any concerns, but hopefully we can work those out, and then we can move the Ansible project to be in GitLab.org as well. And if we do that, then we could have a single board. In my question there, I just asked for, if there are any preferences or any, I don't know, what would be working best for the team. Actually, Etienne's not here. I'm just going to read what he mentions, but we could start with a single board, then iterate on this by creating more boards if we happen to be limited with only one. So that's what Etienne's thoughts there. Tatiana, you have the next.
Just typing away. I just basically said, I think what everyone said about the 2 boards, and I just linked them here. And I wanted to also just say, mostly because James, you and I chatted about the Building Foundation board, is a Kanban style board, and currently has all the columns basically for every workflow label that we have. And I think, versus just the build track workflow labels that we usually see for like engineering type work, I think it's important for everyone on this team to participate in like a problem validation, solution validation, because of the nature of the type of work that we're going to do.
That makes sense. One thing here is that for individual contributors, if we don't feel comfortable with one board, it is possible to create a smaller one or a smaller version, and still the priorities should remain the same as long as you use the same labels. I think there is stored at some sort of level that they remain the same, basically. So for example, if you just want to have a fewer workflow labels, because that's what individual contributors normally use, then there could be another board parallel that only individual contributors will use, and then PMs and EMs can use a different one. But we can always, do that later if that makes sense.
I am wondering now, James, if, because you called out like the 3 distinct pieces of like workflows within this team. I know we talked about only creating the one category label, that's the category billing foundation, but I wonder if it makes sense for us to create these basically 3, well, 2 additional categories, right? Like the infrastructure and tooling. So it could potentially,
yeah, I agree. I think it makes sense. Yeah, I only figured this out recently when I was just going through the issues that we had, and I noticed that this is probably another category. Yeah. So I think it makes sense. Yeah. One thing I wanted to call out for the team preferences, I think it's fine if in one of the categories that we have here, you don't have any experience at all. It's so basically there should be opportunities for anyone in the team to pick some of the infra work or tooling or anything at some point. Obviously, if you have no experience, you may you may get assigned to something easier first, and then the people who are more like a specialist on that topic, they will be able to help out as well. But I think that's great, because there's more knowledge sharing between the team, which is a good thing. Otherwise, we're just going to have like 1 or 2 people only knowing about our infrastructure, and it becomes a bottleneck.
Oh, James, does it make sense for us to also mention the meetings?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think so right now we have these 2, I think there are 2 meetings, technical syncs that we had because of the working group that we had prior to creating Billion Foundation, where NTAPS also joins those meetings. I think the idea now is to keep those. I'm not sure about the APAC one. I need to probably speak to Chinyu anyway, but we should definitely keep at least the one that we have for EMEA and America's time zone, and then I will speak to Chinyu and see if it makes sense to keep that APAC one, because I won't be able to join that one, which might be fine anyway. Someone else can drive it.
Join that one.
Yeah, but I just wanted to check whether it makes sense or for Chinyu, because that's the only person who will really benefit from that meeting. But yeah, we can keep it. I won't be able to make it up.
Hey, Tyler, is that out of time zone for you as well?
It is, but I've been joining. It's not the most ideal time for me, just because that's when kids come home and it's a bit distracting, but I can definitely make it. I can make it work.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to keep joining and just to create like a little bit of like this transition for Chinyu, so he doesn't feel as, maybe excluded from the meeting, and then we can evaluate if, we still need it later down the road.
Yeah, makes sense. I will speak to Chinyu anyway to see what he thinks. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool. Does anyone have any other questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to step
Go
back.
ahead.
Thanks. I would like to step back in time and to our problem with multiple boards. But actually a funny thing, because I believe yesterday I was thinking about merging the Ansible repo into the customers.repo, because we have many shared things, and updating both repos actually makes it hard to maintain a customers.dot application. So in order to eliminate multiple boards across multiple projects, we could just merge the Ansible repo under like .ansible folder and keep everything in a single place, because we don't depend on the infrastructure that much. And but actually will also solve several problems like shared secrets file. But the most annoying thing right now that you need to update this file in both places, in customers.repo and in the Ansible repo too.
Yeah, I think we should probably create an issue to explore that option. We do need to solve for a few things. I think there might be some SOX compliance problem in terms of who should have access to that repo, especially maintainer and so on. We probably want to limit that, especially when it's got secrets. Maybe only the billing foundation team should be able to together with infrastructure, for example. And then the other way around, customers dot, we may need to add some infrastructure people there. So maybe it might be tricky. And there's a lot of focus on compliance stuff right now, so I'm trying to be cautious about that. However, even if we don't merge them, from what you mentioned, there are things that we should be able to improve. I don't know. There must be some way of syncing things between the repos that makes it much easier, basically.
Yeah, lawyers, of course.
So like for SOX compliance, I know that whoever is writing code to modify things in Zora cannot also be the person that's deploying that code. So I guess as long as like the deployment part should just be automated, but I think maybe that's not what you're talking about, but like the secrets and things.
Yeah, this is different. I think for that, we need, so basically we solve that with approvals right now in customers dot. We need an approval, which is not the same person who made any of the commits. So we know that whoever did the code change, it won't be the same who's going to deploy it. So that's fine. We probably need the same for Ansible, for the Ansible project. But in that case, there might be further restrictions because we don't want everyone to, especially not everyone under GitLab or to make changes or maybe view those secrets and so on. Yeah.
I was wondering if we have any documentation around what is the current infrastructure for the customers app.
We do have some under customersgitlab.com. Sorry, customersgitlab.com project. I think in the doc, it must be an architecture thing, maybe. Let me just see if I can find it and link it quickly.
Yeah, there's
This
an
can also
architecture
be
folder.
async.
Yeah, so we have that one. It doesn't say a lot though, I have to say, but there are more under doc folder. There might be more things that might be relevant as well, especially the flows and and there's a Zora folder as well there.
Mm-hmm.
We can also link the readiness document we wrote for our migration to GCP.
Yeah, that's a good point. You mean the readiness doc, right? Yeah. I think that one may be a good one as well, because it probably states, how the whole infrastructure, basically, what it was and what it is right now.
Yeah, I added a link to a document.
There's the order to cash handbook page as well that has some things. We could potentially add that to our README within customers dot. That's helpful. Trying to find that.
Thanks for adding those links. I like the readiness one. I think we should probably add that to the main documentation, to be fair. Cool. Any other thoughts, questions?
So I guess before we're like full-fledged into the billing foundations flow, it sounds like we still have some folks working on provision related things. Do we know, I guess, and even I think, James, you slacked me about some shuffling of priorities with related to ramps. I haven't looked through that thoroughly yet, but I imagine we'll still have some of this to work through in the short term, but long term, we'll kind of get insulated from, shuffling priorities and things. I'm just wondering, like, do we anticipate like when we have full bandwidth on the team? A couple milestones, maybe.
That's a good question. I guess, well, this milestone is still a transition milestone, so I think that was expected. We wanted to keep most of the people, focused on the same priorities as before. I guess I guess in the next few milestones we should be focusing more and more on our main things that we have. And to be fair, I'm fairly optimistic because we have a lot of scope than the other teams do not have, basically. So I'm hoping that we should be able to focus more and get the whole team to work on billing foundation stuff. But yeah, I'm curious to know what Tatiana thinks.
Yeah, it's definitely currently still being molded. Just this morning, we discussed shifting some of the priorities on the roadmap to be more reflective of the more urgent things that are coming up. That's orders and ramps work, and seeing what can maybe be delayed. So I think we continue to look at the overall order to cash roadmap as like the source of truth for what's the most important. And just know that I know James and I and Omar are still trying to figure out the best placement of what priority should go where. So that's currently a bit on flight.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But
Sounds good.
one thing for sure is we are continuing to track towards orders and ramps being ready. So that's not changing. If anything, it's coming up and going above in priority.
And one thing here is that orders and ramps should probably be owned by Building Foundation anyway. I know license was sort of owning that before, but it seems to be just mainly Zora work that we may want to own anyway.
I was thinking about that too, James. I think there'll be parts that are owned by provisioning team where it, affects provisioning. But I think most of the work that Tyler, you have been doing with Amparo is more of the Building Foundation's work, understanding the call outs and, understanding new objects that we're having to deal with. So yeah, in that regard, you're right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, as we get more accustomed to the new breakdown of teams and things, how work gets separated, like the clear boundaries, and we'll work towards those. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm. I think we're almost at time.
Yeah, I think we can leave it here. Definitely ping us on Slack or async if you have any more questions or follow-ups. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Have a good day.
Thanks for organizing.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.